means this riddle. The time, Creon. Neighbors should be there for one another. Hello humans, my name is Dael Kingsmill. There is an awful lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and it's taking a lot of our energy. It's gonna continue to require our attention, but I don't know, I hope that maybe these videos can be like a recharge point for you. Sit down and relax for like 20 minutes so that you can get re-energized and get back out there. So today I have a mythology video for you. I'm going to be telling you a story. It's a good one. You'll like it. It's relevant. There's a plague in it. This is the story of Oedipus in an order close to that of the Sophocles play Oedipus Rex, just because it's much more mysterious and interesting if told that way. Oedipus was the prince of Corinth, and he lived a very happy life there until his young adulthood, when during a banquet a guest got super drunk and belligerent and started heckling Oedipus and telling him he was not the true son of the king and queen there. Oedipus's parents tried to assuage that fear, told Oedipus not to listen to that random drunk guy, but it got to Oedipus. It really bothered him. So one day, behind his parents' back, he traveled to Delphi so that he could talk to the oracle there. Every mortal was allotted one question that they could ask the oracle at Delphi, and she would give them a true prophetic answer. So Oedipus used his one question to ask, "Who are my real parents?" And the oracle said, "You want to talk about parents? Let's talk about parents. You, kid, you are destined to murder your father and marry your mother. You are going to be the brother of your own kids." So think about that. Oedipus was in full panic mode. He didn't want to kill his dad, and he certainly didn't want to marry his mum. But the oracle always tells the truth. So he ran away. He left Corinth, determined never to return again until his parents were dead. He decided to head to Thebes, and while he was traveling down the road to get there, he reached this three-way crossway. There was a small group of men coming from another direction with a carriage, and they were coming too quickly, and they ran Oedipus off the road. He starts shouting and heckling them. The old man in the carriage leans out and says, "Who do you think you're talking to?" And Oedipus says, "Who do you think you're talking to?" And they get into a fight, and Oedipus wins. He kills them all with his walking staff, hits them on the head with his stick. All except for one, who was clever enough to run away before he got whacked on the head with a stick. Didn't really feel like being bludgeoned to death on that particular day. So anyway, Oedipus continues on his way. He makes it to Thebes. Little did Oedipus know that at this time Thebes was being terrorized by the Sphinx. The Sphinx was a monster with the body of a lion, the head of a woman, and great wings coming out from its back. The Sphinx had set up camp outside the Theban gates, and anytime someone tried to exit or enter at that gate, the Sphinx would leap upon them. But the Sphinx was shockingly polite. She would pose every creature a riddle that she had learnt from the muses, and only if that person could not answer her riddle would she then kill and eat them. I think Sphinx means strangler, so that's a little intimidating. Now, the Thebans had been trying to solve this riddle but hadn't had any luck yet. Anytime they thought they had a pretty good answer, they would send someone out with it, but they wouldn't come back. They were absolutely murdered. One of these Thebans who was killed was named Haman. He was the son of the king at the time, Creon. And once Creon had lost his son to the Sphinx, he decided to offer up a reward to any hero who could defeat the Sphinx, solve its riddle. He would hand over his kingship, and he would also give his sister, Jocasta, over to the new king in marriage. "She's a catch," he said. "Look, she's been married to a king already. She knows the ropes." Now, Oedipus rocks up, not knowing any of this, and is pounced upon by the Sphinx. And the Sphinx lays out the rules. Get the riddle right, you live. Fail the riddle, I eat you. So, you ready? Are you ready? There is a being on Earth that is 4-footed, 2-footed, and 3-footed, yet has a single voice. And of all beings that move on the ground, or through the air or sea, it alone changes its form, and when it moves with the support of the most feet, then is the speed of its limbs at the weakest. Of what creature do I speak? Oedipus has a little sit down, thinks about his answer. He found a loophole, there's no time limit listed, so he's sitting and he's pondering and he's poking his walking staff in the dirt, and then he thinks, walking staff. Interesting. And the answer occurs to him. The answer, Sphinx, is a man. Interesting. Would you mind telling me how you arrived at such a conclusion? It is simple. For when a man is an infant, he crawls upon all fours. Then as he grows, he learns to walk on his own 2 legs. And then finally, in old age, and sometimes just while traveling, or when he sees a big stick and he thinks, ooh, that looks like a good big stick, he walks with his 2 legs and a stick, like a 3rd foot. And the Sphinx is like, damn it, you did it, and throws itself off a cliff. Its wings do nothing to help it at this particular juncture, and the Sphinx plummets to its death. So Oedipus walks in through the gate, and streamers and party balloons all come out. There's a banner that says, "You are our only customer," with fine print that's like, because the Sphinx keeps murdering everyone. And when Oedipus finds out about the reward Creon proposed, he takes it in a flash. Oh, come on. In a flash. He marries Jocasta, he takes the crown. Oedipus is king of Thebes now. Really, this whole running away gig's working out for him pretty well so far. Things are fine long enough for Oedipus and Jocasta to have 4 kids: Antigone, Ismene, Polynices, and Eteocles. I'm sure Polynices and Eteocles will get along great. Bros for life. Not too long later, a plague strikes the people of Thebes. They try everything. Oedipus racks his brain for a solution, but nothing they try is quelling the illness. Now, Oedipus has already used up his 1 question for the Delphic Oracle, and so he sends Creon to go and speak to the Oracle at Delphi and find an answer to why this plague is plaguing them. When Creon gets back, he says something very interesting. According to the Oracle, Thebes was being punished by Apollo. They were being punished because they were harboring the murderer of the former king, King Laius. Oedipus now finds out that Creon had taken the crown after King Laius died because Laius didn't have any sons, and so rulership passed to Creon as he was Jocasta, the queen's brother. Because patriarchy. Oedipus is horrified to learn that someone in his city is sheltering a man who would murder the king in cold blood. He gives a big speech. He's like, if I find out that any one of you is keeping the murderer in your house, I will come for you. So he demands that investigations begin. First thing that Oedipus does personally to try and solve the puzzle is that he summons Tiresias, the blind seer, to come before him. He asks Tiresias very plainly, he says, tell me the name of the man who killed King Laius. And Tiresias is like, oh boy, no, I think this is a you problem. I really don't want to get involved. He keeps trying to refuse to answer the question, but Oedipus is there like poking him in the head with a stick saying, tell me the answer. Who killed Laius? Hey, what's the answer? Finally, Oedipus puts on enough pressure that Tiresias does sort of start answering the question. Tiresias tells him the old king was murdered by his own son. What? Oedipus says, Laius didn't have any sons. How do you think I got to be king? Come on, man. Seriously, what's the answer? Don't lie to me. You will find that the man who killed King Laius is father and brother the same, husband and son the same. You feel me? No, I don't feel you. I have had enough riddles for one lifetime. Believe me. It's you, dude. You killed King Laius. What? No. Oedipus sends Tiresias away. He's decided that the man is clearly just lying to him. But as he stews on the things that were said, Oedipus recalls having heard something similar before. You are going to be the brother of your own kids. Father and brother the same. So think about that. And Oedipus starts sweating. He starts panicking a little bit. He goes to Jocasta and he starts telling her about his fears. But Jocasta soothes them all away. She says, don't even listen to the seer, Oedipus. Prophecies are worthless. They mean nothing. Did I ever tell you about the prophecy that was given to Laius and I? No. And she tells Oedipus the story of long ago when she and Laius were having a great deal of trouble conceiving kids. And so Laius went to talk to the oracle at Delphi to use his one mortal question. How can my wife and I conceive a child? And the oracle said, you want to talk about children? Let's talk about children. If you ever conceive a son, Laius, if you ever have a son, a little baby boy, he's going to grow up to murder you dead. So if you have a son, that's your death sentence. If I was you, I'd just stop trying to have kids right now. Seems like the oracle was just like that. You know, rather than answering your actual question, just answering something slightly tangential to it that's far more horrifying. So Laius came home and he and Jocasta were determined to just give up on having kids. That's fine, we don't need to ever have sex again. Until one night, the two of them got super sloppy drunk and they got it on. And kablamo, Jocasta is pregnant and she gives birth to a little baby boy. You said that the prophecy wasn't gonna come true. Up, you wait for the ending. Laius killed the kid. How's that for averting fate? What Laius did was he shoved a spike through the baby's feet and left it to die of exposure on a mountainside. Okay, this doesn't sound that happy. Yeah, alright, with the judgment. The important thing is that Laius didn't die by his son's hand, did he? Baby's dead. Laius murdered by a bunch of bandits. Oh, okay. Okay, murdered by bandits, that's good. At a ripe old age, too. Killed him dead at a three-way crossroad while he was riding in his own carriage. I'm sorry, a where? No, don't worry. I mean, don't forget that the baby is dead. You're sure the baby's dead? Of course the baby's dead. He was left to die on a mountain in Corinth. How would the baby survive? Corinth? Oh, motherfuck! Oedipus is right back to spiraling. There are still a few things that don't add up, though. The old king was murdered by a group of bandits, right? A bunch of brigands. Oedipus had heard that there was one survivor of the attack on the old king, that he'd moved to work as a farmer living outside of the city. So Oedipus called for that man to come to the palace and tell his story, tell his account of the events of the murder of King Laius. But Jocasta at this point, she's like, Oedipus, maybe you should stop asking questions. No, seriously, Oedipus, I think you need to stop asking questions. Oedipus, if you keep looking for answers, it's only going to make everything worse. But the farmer who escaped the attack is brought forward, and while Oedipus goes to meet him outside, Jocasta flees into the palace from fear, and the man tells Oedipus everything that had happened. It was you, he says. We came upon you on the road at a three-way crossing, and you murdered the old king and all of his retinue, apart from myself. And Oedipus's brain melts and it starts dripping out of his ears and he screams to the heavens and he runs inside. He quickly finds that Jocasta has killed herself, horrified to learn the truth of her relationship with her own son. Oedipus, equally mortified, pulls the pins from her dress and gouges out his own eyes. He curses the inescapability of fate. O fortuna, velut luna, statu variabilis. And then he calls for his own exile and wanders around the wilderness of Greece until he dies somewhere in Attica. So that's the story. It's a good one. It's not a happy one. Maybe I should have chosen a different recharge station. If you want to follow it up with something happier, it is immediately followed by the story of the Seven Against Thebes, which, while technically tragic and full of death, is just very funny and farcical. You'll enjoy that one, I promise. I want to say that I hope you enjoyed the story, and I do, but also it's just such a downer ending. Well, apart from that, I do believe that's it. I'm done. Email this to your grandma. I'll see you some other time. Sorry. Semper crescis, aude crescis.